If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as follow me and subscribe to me on all my other social media platforms. What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with another album review for you guys, and this time I am talking about the latest studio offering from German melodic death/black metal band Thulcandra with Hail the Abyss. So this also came out on May 19th. Again, Kane, don't show up and tear my eyeballs out. Again, if you get that reference, high five. But yeah, so I did go over their last album, A Dying Wish, in 2021, and I thought that was an excellent album. And of course, for those who don't know, Thulcandra, the black metal side project of one Stefan Kummerer from Obscura, and needless to say, I'm a huge fan of Stefan Kummerer because he's such a talented guitarist, songwriter, and vocalist. He's almost like, call me crazy, but I consider him like a modern-day Chuck Schuldiner when it comes down to a gift for songwriting, vocal chops, and just overall musicianship. Like, such a phenomenal player. So yeah, when I saw that Thulcandra had a new album coming out, I was like, I gotta check it out, because I really liked The Dying Wish when it came out 2 years ago. And now here we are with Hail the Abyss. So, right out of the gate with In the Eye of Heaven, thrash beat with beautiful melodic guitars. Now, one thing I will say that makes this album stand out compared to A Dying Wish, the melodies on this album are more beautiful, but yet filled with more anguish and depression and somberness and sorrow. Like, this is arguably one of the more somber sounding black metal or mellow death albums I've heard in quite some time. And you get that immediately with In the Eye of Heaven. Despite the thrashy energy, the melodies are just beautiful and filled with sorrow. And I also like how the chorus on this track has more groove, but maintains that somber melody throughout. And of course you get some like real cool stomping rhythms to begin this song, or not to begin, but in this song, but great dynamics. And there's another thing that's wonderful about this album. The dynamics whenever things calm down into like either a clean melody or an acoustic melody, and then right into the heaviness once more. It's like these cool like little peaks and valleys within the songs. The title track, big blast beats and melodic tremolo riffs that scream black metal right out of the gate, but then you get more of that like almost at the gates kind of thrash energy a little bit. And then of course there are even moments on this album where you get some like more, I would say, heroic moments that kind of scream like more triumphant melodies, or even like maybe power metal vibes. Like in the title track, you do get like a little power metal vibe with some of the tremolo riffs to kind of feel, like I said, heroic and triumphant. And then you even get like a really cool like triplet chug on the bridge of this track that screams death metal. And there are some really cool like triplet sections, whether it's like a galloping triplet or a triplet chug, that kind of gives off more of those death metal vibes, or dare I say Bathory vibes. Like tracks like Asheronian Cult and Blood of Slaves bring in more of those like death metal triplet chugs along with the title track. And then even in the title track, it does have an almost like symphonic quality to it. Like, it sounds so epic, it's almost symphonic. I don't know if there was keyboards or Mellotron involved, but it does kind of give off that vibe a little bit. And then like the two instrumental interludes, At Night and In Darkness We Descend. Even though some people might be tired of interludes, I like these interludes, especially when it's all acoustic based and you hear these beautiful acoustic guitar works on both of these interludes. Velvet Damnation, driving riff and rhythm right away, and then you get a beautiful guitar lick that feels like Iron Maiden, and that's another thing. Some classic heavy metal elements kind of show up here and there on this album. And then there's a section here on Velvet Damnation where it gets like thrashy, but with like the riffage and the blast beats. Almost made me think of Dissection's The Somber Lane, like the song The Somber Lane. And of course, Dissection, the big influence in Thulcandra. Well, them as well as Sacramentum, Dawn, Naglfar, Unanimated, and dare I say Necrophobic, like that mix of melodic death and black metal blend bands from Sweden in particular, even though this is a German band. On the Wings of Cosmic Fire, the opening riff made me immediately think of Necrophobic with how it's just driving things forward in a big way, and then more of those like classic metal vibes like Judas Priest, but I even get a little bit of like a punky vibe, like say like Death Angel levels of punk, even though it's thrash, but you get a little bit of like a punk vibe to it. Now, the mood and the melodies towards the end and the riffage at the end of this song screams more melodic death metal, like Insomnium, for example. But yeah, Asheronian Cult, you get like a lot of different elements on here. Moody acoustics with creepy chanting in the beginning. Then you get, when the guitars come in, then you get into this like triplet marching rhythm that made me think of Amon Amarth, Bolt Thrower, and Bathory kind of mashed together. Thrash speeds with like more of those somber tremolos, beautiful harmonies. But the ending rhythm made me think of dun 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 dun, like Diamond Head, Am I Evil, which was really cool, like a nice little nod to Diamond Head. As I walk through the gateway, Blackened feels immediately, but again, more of those like triumphant tremolo riffs and even some shred. Like, there's not a whole lot of leads on here. Like, I would say about half of this album does have some great melodic lead work. And then you get into Blood of Slaves, which might be the fastest song of the album in terms of just the ferocity with the blasts and the tremolos, and it's got more aggression. And then you get some like thrash riffage that screams German thrash, like Sodom and Creator in particular. Then the final closure, the longest track of the album at the very end of like almost 8 minutes. Pretty much, this is maybe the doomiest song of the album. Like, it's slow, but again, more of those heroic triumphant tremolos, but again, just gets brought down by sorrow and anguish. And again, that's really the feel of this album, is sorrow and anguish all throughout. Now, as far as like the keynotes, production, pretty raw with a really good mix. After all, it was mixed by Dan Swano. And of course, you know me, I love the Dan Swano production and mix. Now, I will say though, the snare could have been tweaked a little bit. Like, the snare does sound a little bit buried at times. Stefan's vocal performance, for the black metal side of his voice, truly exceptional. Wonderful melodies throughout, and they can range from triumphant to sorrowful to even some sinister moments. The drum work, absolutely flying on this album. And like I said, the lead work, when it does show up, beautiful use of depression and great use of melody and atmosphere. And I love how the riffs range from thrash to black metal to death metal chugs whenever they do show up. So yeah, tracks like In the Eye of Heaven, the title track, Velvet Damnation, Asheronian Cult, and Blood of Slaves bring in those thrash moments, while the title track, Asheronian Cult, and Blood of Slaves have more of those death metal moments. Great harmonies in Asheronian Cult. Some sections, like on the title track, As I Walk Through the Gateway, and the final closure, like I said, triumphant and heroic. Like I said, little glimmers of classic metal on Velvet Damnation and On the Wings of Cosmic Fire. And like I said, influences just all throughout. Dissection, Sacramentum, Dawn, Unanimated, Naglfar, and Necrophobic, but with that more somber, depressive atmosphere laced. As far as any complaints, though, really the only complaint that I have is, like I said, the snare does sound a little bit buried in the mix, so if the bass, the snare could have been tweaked a little bit higher in the mix to have a little bit more prominence, I think this would have made this album go even higher than I'm already going to give it. So overall, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. This is some dark and sad melodeath / black metal that just hits you right in the feels. Stefan Kummerer, I bow to you, good sir. But yeah, 9 out of 10. But of course, that's just my opinion. What did you guys think of Hail the Abyss by Thulcandra? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.